I've been hearing some similar things for like almost 20 years now. CrossFit. I'm a CrossFit coach as well. I've been taught with CrossFit. I've been around CrossFit for almost 20 years, and it never goes away. CrossFit's bad for your back. Deadlifts are bad for your back. Barbells are bad for your back. High intensity training is going to be bad for your back or other joints, right? And at some point, we need to sit back and ask the simple question, is any of that actually true? And there was a study recently, 2025, compared some CrossFit athletes to sedentary individuals, and it found some really interesting things that are going to make people uncomfortable, hopefully. And the CrossFit athletes in these cohort that they studied ended up having substantially less back pain than people who are sedentary. They didn't have more back pain. They had less back pain than people that do nothing. So the research was comparing people that participated in CrossFit classes versus sedentary folks. And they found was pretty straightforward. The prevalence of low back pain amongst the people that were in the CrossFit group was around 40%. Prevalence of back pain in people who are sedentary is 70%. So the difference, though, is the CrossFit athletes that 40% of people that reported some back pain, compared to the sedentary group, they described their back pain as less intense, gave them less disability throughout their day. They're having fewer episodes in a calendar year of lower back pain. And the people that had back pain prior to starting CrossFit ended up reporting improvements in their back pain and its intensity and its frequency after going to CrossFit. So this is not exactly what the people out there who hate on CrossFit are promising us, right? And there's a big problem with this narrative. For years, people have been told that loading their spine in any way is dangerous. Deadlifts are dangerous. Squatting is dangerous, cleans are dangerous, snatches are dangerous. All of these are supposedly one bad rep away from complete spinal catastrophe. But here's the problem. The people that are loading their spines regularly often seem to have the fewest problems than the people that are avoiding loading altogether. So that should make everybody stop and think a little bit. And this conclusion that I keep coming back to is the human spine appears to tolerate loading far better than it tolerates deconditioning. I'm going to say that again so you can write it down. The human spine appears to tolerate loading far better than it tolerates deconditioning. Because when people stop loading the spine doesn't stay the same. They get weaker, they get less conditioned, they become less tolerant, they get more fearful, they get more sensitive, and then they blame their spine for the problem. But clinically, I've spent almost 20 years as a coach and a clinician. And I'm going to say something that might upset some people, but I have solved more back pain over the years by getting people stronger than I ever have doing manual manipulations of their spine. And that doesn't mean that kind of thing isn't helpful. It absolutely can be helpful. But the lasting changes come from the rebuilt capacities, not passivity. They got changes from loading, not avoiding. Now, we will be fair. CrossFit isn't magic. It's just something that I use and am very familiar with. It's not going to injury-proof you against everything. And it's not for everybody. That's an old Glassman saying, CrossFit is for anyone, but it's not for everyone. And it's going to expose but it will expose modern adults to things that they desperately need, like lifting stuff, carrying things, squatting, pulling, conditioning work, improving their work capacity, improving their confidence. These are the same things that most of these people have been avoiding for years that are complaining about back pain, that 70% of sedentary people complained about. So one of the things that is interesting, kind of a little nuance of the study, is not necessarily about CrossFit per se, but about supervision. The people that trained their CrossFit without any kind of coaching ended up having worse outcomes, ended up needing a little more treatment, ended up needing some medications, ended up having some more problems than the supervised group. So this shouldn't surprise anyone. If you're doing a bunch of stuff you're not ready for, at a pace you're not ready for, in positions you're not ready for because you don't have somebody helping you, the chances of hurting yourself are going to go up. And the issue isn't the movement, the issue is how the movement is managed. And does this sound familiar? It sounds like the same thing we see in deadlifting. It sounds like the same thing we see in any exercise. The problem isn't the exercise, it's the dosing, the progressing, the preparation. That's where the wheels fall off. So we do have to keep everything in perspective about the study, though. The study does not prove that CrossFit is a cure for back pain. It does not prove that CrossFit is superior to other training methods when it comes to back pain. It doesn't prove that nobody is going to get injured. But it does challenge the idea that loading your spine is inherently harmful, because if that was true, then the results of this study are difficult to explain and you'd expect them to be flipped. So this isn't a CrossFit story, so to speak. It's a human adaptation story, and the body is going to adapt to what you consistently ask of it. So if you load it appropriately, it's going to get stronger. If you avoid loading completely, it's going to lose capacity. And that is just biology and physiology. These are not ideologies. So most people don't need a more protected spine. They need a more capable spine. And they need more confidence, they need more exposure, they need to build more resilience, because the evidence points us all in the same direction, that the human spine tolerates loading better than it tolerates deconditioning. And that is the lesson, and it is far bigger than the CrossFit.